Single dad's last dollar for diapers sparks unexpected act of kindness from a stranger revealed. Jack stood in the swirling chaos of the grocery store, the bright cereal boxes and colorful juice bottles taunting him. Clutching his last dollar in a sweaty palm, he could feel his heart racing. A pack of diapers for Lily or save it for a rainy day that might never come? The sight of those fluffy packages brought back memories of his father, who also wrestled with tough choices while creating a life for his family. Jack's throat tightened. The weight of the world rested uncomfortably on his shoulders as a wave of anxiety crashed over him. He glanced at the other shoppers, carefree in their choices, laughing alongside children who tugged at their sleeves, begging for treats. Jack wished he could cradle his own daughter with that same spirit of joy. Life hadn't been easy since losing his factory job. The long days of uncertainty stretched ahead, a daunting road he couldn't seem to navigate. As he stood there, swallowed by doubt, he caught the eye of Sarah, the local bakery owner. She'd watched him before while kneading dough, her heart heavy with understanding. She admired Jack's genuine love for Lily, a shining beacon of hope in an otherwise dim landscape. Inspired by his dedication, she felt compelled to act, despite her own financial burdens weighing her down. Moments later, Sarah quietly purchased the diapers and left them at the checkout desk before slipping away. She didn't linger, she didn't need recognition. But her simple act of kindness unleashed an unexpected wave of compassion through the community. Word spread like wildfire, igniting conversations around the fragility of the American dream. Jack hardly knew how to feel when he returned home to find neighbors at his doorstep. They brought resources, hugs, and even kind words that lifted him just a bit. Whispers about Sarah's generosity buzzed in the air, uniting those who understood hardship and the power of connection. It felt foreign yet comforting. But with gratitude came an insidious pride that sat heavily in Jack's chest. Deep down, he grappled with the notion that accepting help might mean he was somehow failing as a father. Waves of shame washed over him, and yet, beneath it all, a flicker of hope began to rise. How could he honor the kindness shown to him without feeling like he was taking advantage of goodwill? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing before his neighbors, Jack's heart raced. Their smiles, filled with acceptance and resilience, beckoned him. How could he find the strength to lean into the love they offered? They were a community, and he owed them his vulnerability. The room pulsed with empathy, the air heavy with shared stories and open honesty as Jack considered a decision that could redefine not just his understanding of the American dream, but the future for him and his daughter. Could he finally let others in? The tension crackled, leaving him breathless with uncertainty. Jack took a deep breath, the collective warmth of his neighbors washing over him. The mixture of emotions swirling in his chest was overwhelming: shame, gratitude, and the nagging worry that he would somehow let them down. He looked into the faces surrounding him and saw empathy reflecting back. They understood. Each of them had felt the weight of struggle at some point in their lives. Thank you all for coming," he finally managed, his voice faltering at first but gaining strength with each word. "I didn't expect this. I don't know how to repay you." One neighbor, Angela, stepped forward. Her hands were gentle as she placed them on Jack's shoulders. "You don't have to repay us, Jack. That's not how this works. We're here for each other, just like family." Family? The word hit Jack hard. His own family was far away, and his relationship with them had grown distant when he needed their support the most. Maybe this community was a chance to build anew, to feel that bond again. Suddenly, a little voice broke through the emotional haze. "Daddy? Can we have cookies?" Lily, with her big blue eyes shining, tugged at his pant leg. The room filled with chuckles, and for a moment, Jack's heart lightened. "Yes, sweetie, we can have cookies," he said, kneeling down to her level and giving her a quick hug. As their embrace ended, he looked back at the group. I know things are tough right now, but I don't want us to just survive. I want to dream again. For Lily and me. The neighbors exchanged glances, and Jack could see their resolve solidifying. This moment was about more than just him. It was an opportunity to rally together, to rebuild dreams. Let us start a community garden, suggested Malik, a retired veteran with a passion for sustainability. Growing our own food could save money and bring us closer. Imagine cooking with what we grow together. The idea sparked excited murmurs and nods of agreement. Jack felt a powerful sense of belonging igniting within him. They tossed around plans for potluck dinners and yard sales to raise money for local kids. And what about a support group for the dads? Malik continued. Jack noted how everyone paused to think. We can share resources, trade tips, and let us be honest vent. Parenthood needs a village. Laughter erupted at the last part. Jack's chest expanded with an emotion he hadn't felt in so long, hope. It flourished like sunlight bursting through clouds, illuminating even the darkest corners of his spirit. As the gathering went on, Jack couldn't help but notice the kindness between neighbors. The anxiety that had gripped him slipped away like the last light of day. He wasn't alone anymore. By the end of the evening, as everyone began to disperse, a small group stayed behind, helping stack empty soda boxes and forgotten bags. Jack stepped over to Sarah, whose eyes sparkled with camaraderie. You started this, he said softly. Your kindness opened the door. She smiled, brushing her flour-dusted apron. We all have it in us to help one another. This is just the beginning. Remember, Jack, accepting help is not a failure. It's building a lifeline for you and Lily. Jack felt a knot unraveling inside him, a chain of fear slowly breaking. He could let people in, he could trust, and in doing so, transform his world. But as he turned to go inside, the haunting question lingered. How deep could this new connection flourish? Was he prepared to embrace every aspect of it, especially the vulnerabilities? With those thoughts swirling in his mind, Jack wondered just how much deeper the community would grow, and what challenges lay ahead. Jack awoke the next morning with a fresh resolve. The sky outside was painted in soft shades of pink and gold, and for the first time in months, he felt a flicker of excitement lending color to his day. After the emotional swell of the previous evening, he realized he needed to build on that momentum. Getting out of bed, he glanced at Lily, still lost in the sweetness of sleep, her small face relaxed, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. He tiptoed into the kitchen, focused on making a simple breakfast. As he cracked the eggs into the pan, the sizzling sound broke the early morning silence, and he couldn't help but smile at the thought of sharing pancakes topped with syrup. Lily would love it. Their morning ritual felt even more important now, a moment carved out just for them amid everything else. After breakfast, Jack ventured outside to tackle the day. Straightening his posture, he strode toward the community center, heart pounding slightly with anticipation. Malik had already put out an email about their first community garden meeting. It was a place where neighbors could come together, cultivate connections, and grow something worthwhile. As he approached the center, he felt the familiar nerves creeping back in. What if he spoke too much or not enough? Inside, the hum of chatter and laughter greeted him warmly. The meeting commenced with everyone sharing their ideas. Malik stood at the front, his enthusiasm infectious. Participants threw out ideas about what to plant, how to set it up, and how to get the funds they needed. Jack's heart swelled as he watched a group of parents sharing laughter, working together to find solutions that benefited everyone. Their unity felt electric, and Jack couldn't help but sense he was now part of something bigger than himself. But soon reality nudged at him. Remnants of lingering worries crept in. Diapers. Little things that often seemed mundane to others loomed large in his mind. Just last week, he had counted his remaining matching dollar bills like an ominous spell as he reminded himself that they had to last until his next paycheck. With Lily growing quickly, the cost was weighing on him. He glanced around the room, seeking a distraction. In that moment, Jack caught a glimpse of a woman in her 30s, hunched over a notepad with a flurry of sketches. Curiosity piqued, he moved closer. "Those look amazing," he commented, peering over her shoulder. She looked up, her smile genuine. "Thanks. I'm sketching out a layout for the garden. I think we could really explode with color here." Jack returned her smile, warmed by her enthusiasm. "I'm excited to see it grow," he replied, feeling lighter. Just then, as if the universe were teasing him, his phone chimed. A reminder flashed across the screen, pulling his thoughts back. It was time, he needed to run to the store. The pit in his stomach grew heavier as he reminded himself, "Diapers, Jack. I need to run and grab something before the store closes," he said, half-heartedly. The artistic woman glanced up, concern cutting across her expression. Before he could say anything else, she rolled her sleeves up and blinked hard. "What do you need?" He opened his mouth, struggling with the vulnerability. "Diapers, just. There isn't enough for this week." In that moment, an odd silence lingered before her eyes brightened again. "No worries. Let us pull together. I have a few dollars stashed away. We can get some," she said, already rising from her chair. Jack hesitated, a wave of disbelief washing over him. "You don't have to," she raised her hand, cutting him off. "It's nothing. We're all in this together, right? Plus, I'm sure Lily will love the garden too." There was something refreshing about her kindness. For a moment, Jack just stood there, torn. Was he really ready to accept that kind of help? But as they walked to the door together, something shifted inside Jack. This was more than just about diapers. It was about opening his heart, about letting himself be vulnerable among those who cared. What if this was just the beginning, a thread in a larger tapestry of connections yet to unfold? The thought felt both thrilling and frightening. As they stepped out into the bright sunlight, Jack could feel the warmth on his skin and in his heart. The community garden awaited. Suddenly he felt a spark of hope for tomorrow, blooming alongside their plans and dreams. But as they neared the store, uncertainty crept back in. What other surprises awaited him on this new path? As they approached the store, the vibrant sounds of the city enveloped Jack. Laughter and chatter floated in the air, but his thoughts were fixed on the stack of bills in his wallet, or rather, the lack of one. The woman, whose name he still didn't know, walked beside him, her upbeat attitude almost contagious. "Do you think the garden will really take off?" he asked, trying to shift his focus from impending worries. "Absolutely," she replied. "People want to be part of something. It's like finding a piece of home right in the neighborhood." "What is your name, by the way?" "Jack," he said, feeling warm at the simple exchange. "And you?" "Emma," she responded, her smile brightening. "I can't wait to see the kids' faces when they finally see something actually growing there." The store came into view, and as they stepped inside, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Jack hesitated. He felt small among the towering shelves filled with products, each a reminder of the relentless cycle of parenting. He needed not only diapers but also that fleeting sense of security. "Let us just grab what you need," Emma said, guiding him down the aisle. Jack nodded, and as he moved toward the diaper section, the weight of his decision loomed heavier. Just as he reached the shelves lined with different packs, anxiety washed over him. He pulled out a pack. It was more expensive than he had hoped. He glanced at Emma, who was picking up a few other items and placing them into her basket, oblivious to his turmoil. "Are you okay?" she asked, turning back to him with concern. "Yeah, just trying to make sure I'm not overdoing it," Jack mumbled, feeling the urge to protect the little he had left. "Why don't you let me grab the ones you like? I've seen the kids go through them at my sister's place. They're all over the place," she said, pointing at the pack he had been eyeing. "I can't let you do that," Jack protested, his voice firmer than he intended. The last thing he wanted was Charity masked as temporary understanding. "Listen, Jack," she said gently, "it's not charity if you're accepting help from a friend. And I'd like to be your friend. You're doing an amazing job as a dad. We can lift each other up. It's just a couple of bucks, I promise." Her eyes sparkled with sincerity, and in that moment, a glimmer of hope cut through Jack's apprehension. He took a deep breath, the knot in his stomach loosening just a little. Okay, I could use the help, he admitted. Emma's smile widened as she added the pack to her basket. That simple act felt like a lifeline for both of them, it seemed. As they paid together, Jack noticed how light his heart felt in the midst of his uncertainties. This moment felt different. Let us head outside, Emma suggested. I want to show you the layout I have in mind for the garden. I promise it's going to be incredible. As they stepped back into the sunlight, Jack felt a warmth that was both comforting and exhilarating. The garden wasn't just about vegetables and flowers. It was about forming connections, about the possibilities of new friendships anchored in shared struggles. What if this connection with Emma led to something bigger? The community had a way of surprising him, of revealing life in unexpected colors. They started walking toward the community center, excitement bubbling between them. But as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Jack's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from his landlord, a cold reminder of unpaid rent lurking in the background. Jack's heartbeat quickened. Would he be able to keep this burgeoning bond alive when everything felt like it was just beyond his grasp? The cool evening air wrapped around them as they walked. Jack could still feel the afterglow of Emma's kindness, but with every step, the reminder of his landlord's text loomed larger. He glanced at his phone, willing it to change, to transform the harsh words into something more comforting. What's wrong? Emma's voice pulled him back, her brow furrowed slightly. Just a message from my landlord, he admitted, uncertainty flooding his voice. It's nothing I can handle, just he paused, searching for the right words. You know how it goes, bills piling up. Emma nodded, her eyes softening. She reached down and squeezed his arm lightly. You're not alone in this, Jack. Sometimes we all need a bit more than just our own strength to get through tough times. He looked over at her, struck by her genuine concern. I like that you're so optimistic about everything. It's refreshing. That's life, isn't it? Sometimes you gotta plant seeds and hope for the best, she said, her voice brightening. And speaking of planting seeds, the community center is right ahead. I want to show you the spot I think would work perfectly for that garden. As they approached the community center, Jack couldn't help but imagine the garden thriving. Kids laughing, dirt under their nails, there was excitement in the thought. But still, the questions nagged at him. Could he really pull this off? Emma pointed toward a sunny patch of ground surrounded by flowering bushes. See that? Perfect for tomatoes, maybe some peppers. I can already picture it. Jack's heart swelled, yet doubt crept back in. But what if we can't get enough people interested? What if this whole thing flops? You won't know unless you try, Emma replied firmly, her voice full of conviction. Trust me, we can build this community together. And if it doesn't work out, well, we'll find another way to connect. They both stood there, absorbing the quiet beauty around them. Jack could feel the warmth of the days slipping away, but his heart felt slightly lighter. Maybe Emma was right. Maybe leaning into this growing friendship would lead him to the support he desperately needed. Just then, a group of kids ran past, their shouts echoing through the park. They were playing, free from worries, and for a moment, Jack remembered the innocence of childhood. It was beautiful and bittersweet. He wanted his own child to experience that unfiltered joy, but how could he ensure that? Let us get started, Emma said, her enthusiasm sparking something inside him. First, we need to gather supplies. I can help with some fundraising ideas if you're up for it. Jack nodded slowly, feeling a flicker of hope reignite within him. I'd like that really. As they walked back toward the shop to gather some gardening manuals and seeds, Jack's phone buzzed again. His stomach dropped at the sight of the landlord's name flashing on the screen. Everything okay? Emma's voice was soft and inviting, making the weight of the message even heavier. It's nothing, Jack lied, stuffing the phone deeply into his pocket. He could feel her eyes on him, sensing his turmoil but choosing to trust him. Yet inside, the knot returned tighter than before. Could the promise of a new garden be enough to thrive amidst the looming pressures of life? Would planting those seeds truly bring about something beautiful? The uncertainty lingered like the dusk settling around them, and as they walked, Jack knew he was at a crossroads. What if his struggle for survival pushed away this chance at connection? The sound of laughter faded into the background, leaving only the hum of his thoughts. What if, in his fight to hold on, he was the one risking everything? Jack and Emma stepped back into the buzz of the shop, the smell of fresh coffee swirling around them as they approached the small section dedicated to gardening supplies. A tray of colorful seed packets caught Jack's eye, and for a moment, he was momentarily distracted from the heaviness weighing him down. He picked up a packet labeled Heritage Tomatoes, and imagined them ripening under the sun, bright against the green vines. "These are the best kind," he said, trying to inject some lightness into the moment. Emma smiled, her enthusiasm infectious. "Exactly. They'll be delicious. But we need to plan a schedule for watering and weeding." She stopped abruptly, frowning slightly as she noticed Jack's distant gaze, his fingers still gripping the seed packet. "Jack? Are you okay?" He let out a tiny breath, barely audible. "Yeah, I just got lost in thought," he admitted, a touch of shame creeping in. He felt powerless in this moment, burdened by the unseen weight of looming bills and responsibilities. The sharp buzz of his phone cut through his thoughts again, and he reluctantly pulled it out. The dread that hung over him returned with a vengeance as he read the text from his landlord: "Rent is due in 3 days. Late fees will apply." "Is it your landlord again?" Emma asked, glancing at the phone with concern. Jack nodded, feeling the knot in his stomach tighten. "Yeah, just reminding me. Want to talk about it?" He hesitated. The truth felt heavy on his tongue, yet more difficult to swallow. "It's just money stuff. Nothing I can handle." "But clearly it's bothering you," she said gently. "You're not alone. You can share it with me." Jack hesitated again, almost feeling the warmth of her friendship wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. He sighed deeply, pulling his thoughts into a clearer picture. "I have a baby to take care of," he finally said, his voice shaky. "Diapers, food, everything. It's like I'm barely keeping my head above water." Emma's eyes softened, reflecting empathy. "That's huge. It's a lot harder without help." He felt a pang of vulnerability at her understanding. I want to do things right. I want to be the dad she deserves." She stepped closer. "And you will be. You care. That's what matters most." Jack swallowed hard, absorbing her words. In that moment, her kindness felt like light threading through his dark thoughts. A flicker of hope stirred again in his chest, but it was fragile. What if he failed to give her all the things she needed? What if he couldn't make the garden happen? Suddenly, the bell above the shop door jingled, and a stranger walked in, a tall man with a kind face and a warm smile. He noticed the two of them standing by the seeds and approached. "Excuse me," he said, looking directly at Jack. "I couldn't help but overhear. Are you in need of any gardening supplies?" Jack was taken aback. Just..." Looking around, he stuttered, glancing at Emma, who seemed just as surprised. The man pulled out a wallet and handed Jack a crisp $20 bill. "Consider it a little help for your garden venture. It'll bloom into something beautiful, I promise." Jack blinked, feeling a rush of warmth flood through him. Was this stranger serious? "But I can't," he began, reaching out, overwhelmed by gratitude. "Take it," the man insisted kindly. "I've been there. Just pass it forward when you can." As the man left, leaving an air of kindness behind him, Jack turned to Emma, who simply smiled, her eyes wide in disbelief but full of hope. "What just happened?" Jack whispered, hanging onto the bill in disbelief. She laughed lightly, her previous weight lifting. "I think it's exactly what you needed. A little spark to remind you there are still good things in the world." With the $20 bill gripped tightly in his hand, Jack felt the flicker of possibility transform into a flame. It wasn't just about gardening anymore. It was about building something. But could he sustain that spark against his fears? For the rest of the evening, as they began to make their plans, a question nagged at Jack's heart: what would it take to finally let go of the past and embrace this new hope? The garden was calling, but so was the weight of his reality. Jack stood in the shop, still holding the $20 bill like it was a lifeline. As he looked into Emma's encouraging face, he could feel the weight of his worries shifting ever so slightly. Maybe this was a sign. Maybe he could do it: the garden, the diapers, everything. Let us find some tools, he suggested, trying to match Emma's infectious enthusiasm. We need shovels, pots, maybe a watering can. Emma clapped her hands together. Yes. And fertilizer. We have to nourish those plants. As they moved through the aisles, Jack felt lighter. The seed packets in his hands felt less like a burden and more like potential. He could almost see the tomatoes he hoped to grow, brightening up his small apartment and nourishing his daughter. With each item they picked, a small sense of hope began to blossom inside him. The teasing of the stranger's kindness lingered in his mind, pushing him forward. We should pick some flowers too, he said. They'll brighten the place up, help in the spirit department. Yes. Emma beamed. Her joy was palpable, and it threaded through the air like a sweet perfume. Sunflowers would be perfect. They need a lot of sun too. That'll be a good match for your tomatoes. Jack chuckled, envisioning a vibrant garden that would transform their dreary apartment balcony into a mini oasis. But as they delved deeper into planning, a shadow passed through his mind. Emma, what if I really can't pull this off? What if I don't have enough money after rent? She turned to him, a frown knitting her brow. Jack, you have the start of something beautiful here. This is more than just actual plants. It's about creating something alive for your daughter. Her words hung in the air, filling Jack with a mixture of hope and trepidation. He opened his mouth to respond, but then his phone buzzed again. Great. The sarcasm dripped from his voice as he checked the screen, his heart plummeting when he saw a notification from his bank. Insufficient funds for the upcoming automatic payment he had forgotten to account for. Jack? Emma's voice pulled him from his spiraling thoughts. What's wrong? It's my account, I'm running out of options. He could feel the tightness return to his chest. Hey. Breathe, she said, her eyes steady on his. Look, it's just a momentary setback. You've got the seeds, you've got me. We'll figure this out together. Jack wanted to believe her. But what if this doesn't work? What if I don't have enough for even a single start? At that moment, Emma grabbed his shoulders. Her grip was firm but comforting. You won't know if you don't try. Remember what the man said? This is about passing it forward. You can do this, your daughter needs you to believe in yourself. He searched in her eyes for reassurance and, to his surprise, found it. A warmth flickered within him, battling the cold grip of fear. They left the shop, bags filled with seeds and tools, and sat on the curb outside. In the twilight, the city around them felt a little less daunting. Jack tapped the $20 bill against his leg, a methodical rhythm that reminded him of his daughter's laughter. Okay, he said finally, a new determination rising. Let us make a timeline. When will we start? Emma smiled brightly. Tomorrow. We can dig out the balcony together. A small laugh escaped Jack, tinged with newly found confidence. You sure you're ready for dirt and worms? I'll be the worm whisperer. They both laughed, and paradoxically, that made the burdens feel a little lighter. Jack felt the rush of joy mixed with a hint of dread bubbling just below the surface. But before he could entertain any negative thoughts, the moment was shattered by a sudden reality check. The rent was still looming, the bills still piling. What if tomorrow ends like today? He thought, but he quickly pushed that aside. As he walked Emma to her car, a thought nagged at him again. Was this newfound hope sustainable? Or just a flicker destined to be snuffed out by reality? With each step, the question echoed louder in his mind, ready to overshadow his efforts of the upcoming day. How long could hope hold out against the tides of obligation? The garden could only grow if he nurtured it. But what if his past roots were too deep to let go? The sun barely peeked over the horizon the next morning, casting a soft glow on Jack's apartment. He'd hardly slept, restless thoughts swirling like the morning fog outside. Was it foolish to dream about a garden with everything else weighing him down? But when he looked over at the seed packets lined up on the kitchen table, hope flickered again. They were small, but they held endless possibilities. Jack took a deep breath and gathered the tools they'd picked out together: the small spade, trowel, and watering can. "Here we go," he murmured to himself as he stepped onto the balcony. It felt like stepping into a new world, one painted with colors of anticipation and trepidation. The air was brisk, the city bustling below, but up here it was just him and the potential to create something beautiful. As he crouched down, digging into the dirt, he felt oddly liberated. The soil was cool and rich under his fingers. He could picture the sunflowers swaying in the breeze, their faces turned to the light that fed them, just like he hoped to do for his daughter. Jack worked in silence, the rhythmic sound of his spade striking the dirt blending with the hum of the city. Emma arrived a little while later, a big smile on her face and a coffee cup in hand. "Morning, garden master," she called, her cheer breaking through his focused concentration. "Good morning," he replied, brushing sweat from his brow. "What's the plan today, worm whisperer?" "I brought seeds for the flowers," and a little surprised she grinned, pulling something from her bag. It was a small packet of wildflower seeds. "These will attract bees and butterflies. Your garden will be a little haven." He couldn't help but laugh, the weight on his chest lifting a fraction more. "You're spoiling me. I don't deserve this." "Yes, you do," Emma insisted, her tone firm yet soft. "Everyone deserves joy in their life, especially you. You're putting in the work. This is just a little boost to help you along." Their laughter mingled with the sounds of the city, making it feel alive around them. Jack was surprised at how, in this moment, the burdens of bills and rent faded. As they began planting, he leaned into the lightness Emma brought. They joked about the types of plants, sharing little stories and dreams about the lives they wanted to create for those they loved. But with each laugh, a small worry lingered in the back of Jack's mind. What if this joy was just a temporary escape? The morning turned to afternoon, the sunlight battling with the gray clouds. Once they were finished planting the seeds, Jack stepped back to admire the balcony transformation. It felt welcoming and alive, a sanctuary from the outside world. Yet, that gnawing question echoed once more: what happens when the reality hits? When the sun sets, and it's just you again? He turned to Emma, raising the haunting thought casually. "So, what if nothing grows? What if I fail?" She placed a hand on his shoulder, her face serious but kind. "Gardening is like life, Jack. You can't control everything. Sometimes you just have to let go, trust that the seeds will take root, and keep watering them." He looked into her eyes and felt a connection to her words. It wasn't just about plants, it was about resilience. As they packed up their things, a sudden rustle from below reminded him of reality. A group of kids darted past, laughing and shouting. Jack felt a pang of longing, wishing his daughter could experience this joy. "Let us make a small party out of this when everything blooms," Emma suggested, noticing his wistfulness. "Invite friends and the kids. It'll be our little place of joy." The idea sparked something inside him, a flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, he could create the vibrant life he wished for his daughter. But just as the warmth spread through him, the parking meter on the street caught his eye. He remembered the rent due, the line of bills waiting for attention. Was it too much to hope for both a garden and stability? He took a deep breath, feeling the garden soil under his nails, a reminder that some things take time to grow. But as his heart raced with hope, another thought interrupted him. What if he failed to keep his daughter's world bright and healthy? What if the garden couldn't sustain them? The seeds might sprout, but so might doubts. The sun began its slow descent, dyeing the sky shades of orange and pink. Jack stood at the edge of the balcony, staring at the tiny patches of earth they had just turned into a makeshift garden. Over the humming of the city, he could hear the laughter of children still playing below. A gentle wind stirred, carrying the scent of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers from neighboring apartment terraces. It was peaceful, yet the reality of his struggle gnawed at him. He could almost hear the bills piling up in the corner of his mind. Diapers, groceries, rent, it all felt heavier now. The garden was full of potential, But life had a way of intruding, of reminding him of what truly mattered, of what he had to fight for. Jack? Emma's voice cut through his thoughts. He turned to see her standing with a butterfly on her finger. Look! Isn't it beautiful? He stepped closer, captivated. The delicate creature flitted about, colors vivid against the dusk. For a moment, Jack forgot all his worries. It really is, he replied, heart softening at the sight. See? Nature thrives, even in the toughest conditions, she encouraged, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. But underneath it all, uncertainty bubbled. But what happens when winter comes? What if everything dies? His voice wavered, frustration lacing his words. Emma placed the butterfly gently on a nearby flower. That's life, Jack. Always changing, always growing. But what matters is that you keep trying. Like with your daughter, you just have to be there for her, even when the times get tough. He hung his head, wrestling with doubts that refused to let go. Would he really have the strength to keep going? As night crept in, they organized the tools and pots. But across town, another story was unfolding. A stranger, a single father like Jack, stood at the counter of a convenience store, cradling a tiny bag of diapers. His wallet was nearly empty, change rattling weakly at the bottom. He worried about how he would manage to feed his child and cover the unexpected cost of daily needs. The weight on his shoulders felt like a mountain. Just then, a woman in line behind him noticed. She saw the desperation in his eyes and, without saying a word, reached into her purse. When she placed a few bills on the counter, he looked at her in shock. Are you sure? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. It wasn't just money, it was hope. Yes, she said with a warm smile. Sometimes we all need a little help. Back on the balcony, Jack and Emma watched as the twinkling stars began to appear. Jack's heart leaped. Maybe, just maybe, he could build a garden and nourish his daughter too. Perhaps it didn't have to be one or the other. I want to make this garden a place for her to feel free, he said suddenly, conviction spilling from his lips. I want to invite families over, to share laughter and hope. Emma smiled, beaming with encouragement. That's the spirit. Imagine her running around in the sun, playing with other kids at LL.Be beautiful. But just as Jack felt a rush of determination, a thought pushed forward, darker and more insistent. Could he really create that? Or would life's realities snatch it away? His phone buzzed, a notification flashing across the screen. It was a message from home. His mother was in town and wanted to meet. Would it be good or a stir of unresolved issues? Would they talk about his struggles or the garden? And what would that encounter mean for his future, for his hopes? Jack's heart raced again. It was a chance to confront old ghosts, or perhaps, to find a new path forward. As he stared up at the stars, he realized the garden couldn't just be a sanctuary. It had to be a symbol of what he truly wanted: growth against all odds. He took a deep breath, mind racing with myriad possibilities. Emma, I need to tell you something important. What would come next could change everything. But would he have the courage? Jack took a deep breath, the weight of uncertainty resting heavy in his chest. But the twinkling stars overhead offered a sense of possibility, illuminating not just his garden plans but the growth that lay ahead. He looked over at Emma, her eyes filled with warmth and encouragement. I need to tell you something important, he started, the words gathering courage on his lips. I think I want to reach out to my family. My mom is in town, and it's time I face some of my demons. Emma's expression shifted to one of understanding. That's big, Jack. It sounds like a step toward healing. You deserve a chance to reconnect, especially for Lily's sake. Yeah, but it's scary, Jack admitted, feeling the fear curl tightly in his stomach. I haven't seen her in so long. What if she judges my situation? What if she judges me? Or, Emma suggested gently, what if she wants to love you through it? Acceptance is powerful, even when you think it's just impossible. He nodded, feeling the seeds of hope planted deep inside him begin to spur growth. You're right. I need to be brave, for Lily, for myself. I'm done hiding. Just then, the night air was broken by the distant sound of children laughing below, bringing Jack's attention back to the beauty of their shared experience. He could picture his daughter, running free, surrounded by warmth and laughter. For the first time in a while, that vision felt tangible. Let us make that garden happen, Emma. And when everything starts growing, let us invite everyone over for a party, Jack said, a smile creeping across his face. A celebration of life, community, and overcoming challenges. Absolutely. We can get potlucks going, share stories, and let that garden be a heartbeat for all of us, Emma gleamed, filled with infectious excitement. With renewed determination, they began packing tools into Emma's car. Jack felt lighter with each movement, the burden of yesterday edging away. As they closed the trunk, he felt a newfound clarity. His path was transforming right before his eyes. Listen, if something goes wrong with your mom, I'll be right here. Don't forget we're in this together, Emma assured him as they prepared to head back inside. Thanks, Jack replied sincerely. I really appreciate you. As the night enveloped them and they made plans for the next steps, he turned to her one last time. I don't want to only survive. I want to thrive. Yes. Emma cheered, and her joy wrapped around him like a warm hug. In the days that followed, Jack took each moment as it came. He prepared for the meeting with his mother with equal parts fear and excitement. While he worried about the past, he also thought about all the hope brewing in his new garden. This was growth, this was transformation. On the day of their meeting, Jack arrived early, his heart thumping inside his chest. There she was, a familiar face but with years of distance settled between them. He approached with hesitance, but in her eyes, he saw something unexpected, love. Jack! She exclaimed, and in that moment he knew this wasn't just about the past. It was about a chance at reconnection, at rebuilding their bond. Mom, I've missed you, he blurted out, raw and vulnerable. They talked, really talked, about everything, the struggles, the losses, and finally the hopes that bridged the gap between them. As he described Lily and their newly blossomed community garden, he felt a weight lifting off his heart. For the first time, he realized he wasn't alone. He had the support both from his new friends and now from someone who shared his blood. A few days later, the community gathered to celebrate the opening of the garden. Laughter roared around him, children squealed with delight, and neighbors mingled as they tasted one another's dishes. Jack stood in the middle of it all, amazed by what he had helped create. Emma pulled him aside, her eyes shining with pride. Look around you. You did this, Jack. I could have never done it without you, he replied, feeling gratitude swell like the budding plants around them. They planted the last seeds together, a symbol of their collective strength. Jack smiled, realizing how far he had come from those anxious days in the grocery store, wrestling with small choices. Now, he was rooted in community, love, and the promise of growth not just in the soil, but in his heart. As the sun set on their gathering, Jack felt the rich soil cradling hope, and he understood that this wasn't just the start of a garden. It was the start of a whole new life for himself and Lily, one full of possibility, connection, and love. So, he planted those seeds with a heart full of gratitude and a vision for what lay ahead. Together they blossomed, against any odds, onto a flourishing tapestry of community, resilience, and unconditional love. Now, it's your turn to be part of this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about this beautiful transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful story of kindness and resilience. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.